Well, we're back here at my favourite place. This is Heesman's, the home of Bilstein Australia and Polyair, and we're here to give the 79 a bit of a budget-friendly birthday. Now, I've run Bilstein in every car I've built. My old Toyota Celica, the original Naughty 40, the new 80 series, and after today, the 79 series as well. There's an old EFS lift kit in there with some Airbag Man airbags, but I think improvements can be made, and that's exactly what we're here today to do. We've got a brand new set of their B60 Australian built shock absorbers. We've got a set of Polyair airbags for the back, plus their onboard air kit, which can be controlled through an app. So I'm really keen to get that in. When it comes to traveling Australia, you need absolute confidence in your gear, but you also want comfort and you want a touch of luxury, and that's what we're here to try and achieve today. So let's get this car inside, let's get the old stuff out, and let's start fitting the new gear. Alright, there's every chance you're wondering why we're gone ahead and ripped out what would appear to be perfectly good suspension components out of this car, but what we've ripped out is bits. Now these have definitely seen better days. They're old, they're kind of rusty, but most importantly, they're cheap mass-produced stuff and are twin tube in design. So what that means is that when we're doing long stretches of corrugation out in the outback, these things are just going to get really hot really quick, not disperse that heat, and basically stop working, giving us a terrible ride quality and no vehicle control. Swapping them out to the B60s, I don't need to tell you much about them because I bang on about them all the time, but they're 2.5-inch body, mono tube, built right here in Australia with high performance oil. They're a really, really good product, and they're valves exactly to suit this car and the weight that we have on this car. We're actually going to go and put one of these up against one of the B60s on the shock dyno upstairs very shortly and show you exactly what I'm talking about, so you can see a quantified reason as to why we're swapping them out. The airbags in the back of this thing are just a very basic Airbag Man kit with a manual sort of, you know, the bicycle valve style pump up, which is I'm not about that. We want that luxury life. So we're going to be swapping that out for some Polyair gear, and they also do an onboard compressor as well, which is controllable through an app on your phone. So you can actually go up and down, left to right individually on the app without even having to leave the driver's seat. Now, the front end is back together looking $1 million, but the back end is going to be a little bit spicier. The shocks are, but getting the airbags out isn't going to be easy. And everyone's really soaked about it. We're going to obviously take the shackles off and a few other bits and pieces. So, wheels off first, shackles, airbags out, then shocks. We'll get it ready for the new Polyair airbags. Then we've got to mount the compressor somewhere, run some wiring, set up the switch and all that sort of thing. It's coming together. I can't wait to feel how this thing rides. Here's how you know it's installed by a quality tradesman originally. The airbags, the airline is literally just dangling loosely over the exhaust. Fucking mint. So, what's in here is Boss airbags. They're dog shit. We can't wait to them off and put them in the bin and never use them again. What we have here is the Polyair kit, or at least the start of the Polyair kit. So these will go in place of here. It's a much better quality system, and instead of using manual refill for the airbags, we're going to obviously be using the Polyair onboard compressor. We also have what's called I think it's a shackle kit for these. So generally, like this Boss kit you can see here is mounted fixed top and bottom, which is obviously going to limit your articulation. Because the shocks we're putting in, the Bilstein B60s, are a little bit longer than the EFS, and we don't want to limit articulation. We need all the help we can get in this thing. So what it basically means is that the airbag is going to be able to only be mounted at one point, either the top or bottom, and then as it articulates, the airbag will actually disconnect from the car and then get realigned when the articulation obviously comes back to a ride height sort of thing. So you get all the load carrying capabilities and benefits of airbags, but you don't get any of the hindrances of airbags, which is a really cool thing. And I believe Polyair are the only people that do this. So really cool to see this sort of innovation in an Australian business. Right, so what we're looking at here is the compressor that is going to be getting mounted to the underside of the 79. Now, it's by Airlift, it's made in the USA, so you know you're getting a good product. The compressor is just a 12-volt compressor. It's actually quite a simple design. Works up to about 120 PSI and is controlled from the comfort of the driver's seat using a Super Chiller remote. You can also do the Bluetooth app as well, which makes it really convenient because obviously you're going to be traveling, you're going to be doing all that sort of thing. With a car like this, there's going to be times when it's going to be heavier, when it's full of fuel, water, and food and all that kind of stuff. And then there's going to be times where it's lighter. It might be towing, it might not be. There's a whole range of circumstances where you're going to be able to, or you're going to want to change the load carrying characteristics of the car. And without a set of airbags, you just can't do that. The other really cool thing that we're going to be doing is obviously rooftop tent and all that sort of stuff up here. So if you ever notice that it's not quite level, you can actually adjust left to right the airbags to try and level that tent out and see exactly how you're going to be sleeping.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Now, sorry to interrupt this episode, I just wanted to talk about one thing quickly. Now, in last week's episode, you would have seen a set of spotlights on the front of this car in the wrap reveal. They were basically just on the car because that's how it came when we bought the car. I've since put them in the bin. You'll see at the moment we're running no spotlights, and that's for a couple of good reasons. For starters is we are really proud to have been lucky enough to partner with Lightforce, an Australian company that's got over 35 years experience in industry-leading lighting. The second reason is that Lightforce are about to send us some insane lights. Australian made, not yet released to the public, that are going to go perfectly on the front of this brand new 79 series build. So we cleared the way for those. And third of all, I didn't want to confuse you guys. We love Lightforce, we support Lightforce, and I'll fly that flag proudly to the bloody day I die. So hopefully that clarifies things. Anyways, I'm going to clean up the front of this car a little bit more. Back to the episode. Yo! We are up here in the shock building room. Last time I brought you guys up here, we were assembling the coilovers which went in the 80 series. Right about over there, and I made a massive mess. But this is what we've come up to use, the shock dynos. Now, long story short, a shock dyno is basically a way that we can bolt a shock, not just a Bilstein shock, but any brand of shock in here and simulate a whole bunch of different scenarios and real world testing and get real-time data put onto a screen in front of us so we can see things like temperature, compression, how it's actually performing in these certain simulated environments that we're putting them through. I'm interested to see exactly what we've pulled out of this car. Now I know it's an EFS twin tube shock, so I'm not probably expecting the world, and I know they've been in the car for a long ass time, but what I'm hoping to do out of this is show you guys, I mean, let's like that. The shock shouldn't do that. Anyway, what I'm hoping to show you guys is a justified, quantifiable reason as to why we have gone out and just ripped all this gear out. Obviously we love Bilstein, but I also love a reliable, comfortable car, and that's why we've come here to replace the shock. So in a second we'll be able to run up the data from that EFS shock on the screen alongside a B60 and compare the two and see exactly the upgrade and the benefits that we're going to be seeing.
That's alright. Okay, so the rebound looks alright. That comes on digressive rate, so it comes on and blows off nicely.
Yep.
The bump, on the other hand, is sort of flatlining and then tries to get firmer as the shock goes faster. It could be how they've valved it. It is getting firmer the whole way through, so they're not too bad. They're not
Too good.
too good, but they're not too bad.
Gotcha. What are the benefits, once this plane goes, the benefits of swapping from a twin tube like this to the mono tube design of the B60?
Twin tube has a whole lot more oil in it, and the oil is what makes the shock absorber work. So you've got your valves, which are all on the wall over there, shims and everything. The oil has to flow through that. The more oil, the cooler the shock's going to run. These might have couple of 100 mil of oil in them sort of thing, where the B60s have got over a litre of oil in them. So there's way more oil in the shock absorber, meaning it can stay cooler. Also, the piston in these will be quite small because they're a twin tube, while you do see this on the outside. Twin tube means there's another tube on the inside with the piston, which would probably be the size of a 20-cent piece, let's say. Where the B60, you've got a 60 mil piston. So you've got a much larger piston, giving better control, better flow over the oil as the shock moves up and down. With this car, you're going to need something to control that roll, because you're going to put rooftop tents and you've got a lot of weight up high, so you've got a lot of roll. So what we're trying to do is stop that roll as you're driving along. So these would have worked.
Yeah. Good budget-friendly option, but
yeah,
bigger car, heavier car, and the stuff that we're going to be driving, I think, a worthy upgrade.
Yeah, because you're going to be starting out at 40-degree days. We have had shocks on the dyno that have failed at 40 degrees when we've heated them up. Yeah, so you want a shock that can sort of withstand a lot of heat.
Alrighty, there is light at the end of the tunnel. In terms of the hard parts being installed, we're pretty much there. We've got both the airbags in, the brackets, the sort of saddles, and all 4 shocks are in. There was a little bit of a debacle with the top bracket on the airbag. We thought we were going to need the bracket to suit sort of 3+ inches of lift, but we've gone back to the 2-inch lift bracket and it's worked really well. One thing we did also have to do is, obviously this has got a DPF in it, but it's got a massive DPF back 4-inch exhaust, which runs very close to the airbags. Generally what you find is when you add an aftermarket product and you're an aftermarket product, neither of the brands have thought about working with each other, so it gets very close from a clearance point of view. So we've just put some heat shielding on the exhaust to keep the shock dust boot and also the airbag safe. Now it's compressor time. We'll test it up and we'll get out of here. Well, just like that, that pretty much brings us to the end of a huge day here at Heesman. A massive shout out to the team here at Bilstein Australia and Poly Air. They've hooked it up. We've got the B60 monotube shocks fitted up. We've got the brand new Poly Air system with the onboard air, and everything is controlled from this super sick app. You can go the left and right bags independently or both up and down together. There's presets, there's the remote in the car. If you have any questions about anything you've seen here, drop me in the comments of this video or shoot me a message on social media and I'll do my best to help answer them. Anyways, appreciate you hanging out. We'll see you next week.